All right, I think we're live here. We're almost getting ready to start. If I can ask people to take their seats, we're going to get started on time, if you don't mind. And I do think, Mr. Powers, did you get confirmation Gina's coming, Dr. Conner?
She'll be here, but I think she's running a little late.
Okay.
Mr. Hymas is not going to be able to make it till later because
no worries.
He's in a meeting.
No problem. So we're going to
All right.
go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is a HCISD school board meeting. This is a finance and planning committee meeting. And I'd like to call the meeting to order now. We do have a quorum, although no action will be taken in this committee meeting. Before we get started with the meeting, this is a new committee for the board, and as chair of this committee, I'd like to explain the board's rationale for establishing this new committee. The Harlingen CISD Board of Trustees prides itself on strong governance, strategic thinking, and effective and appropriate district oversight. To do this, we must remain highly engaged with district leadership and external stakeholders, so we have the information and context required to govern effectively. We must also remain nimble and flexible in our governance structure to be able to help the district navigate through transformational periods and also through difficult times. As an example of this, in 2012, the board created a new committee at that time, the Innovation and Technology Committee. Later, it was renamed to the Transforming Teaching and Learning Committee to help facilitate district planning and implementation of innovative initiatives designed to create access to opportunities and enhance student learning. That committee has had a huge impact on the student access to high-quality educational programming, much more than we ever anticipated. So that leads us to present times. Over the summer months, the Board of Trustees has come to realize that we are at an inflection point in our district that requires us to lean in and to be nimble to help the district leadership navigate through challenging financial times. Harlingen CISD and Texas Public Schools are facing unprecedented financial constraints caused by rising costs and inflation that we are all feeling. HCISD's financial situation is negatively impacted by many things, including legislative funding that is inadequate, with Texas ranking in the bottom 10 states per student funding, and with a basic allotment which hasn't been increased since 2019, despite new mandates and rising costs. Over-reliance on local tax collections, with a complicated dichotomous scenario of declining property tax rates while also having simultaneous rising state property valuations. The expansion of charter schools, decreasing enrollment, post-pandemic decline in attendance rates, rising healthcare costs, rising costs to build and maintain facilities, and the federal pandemic relief or ESSER funding coming to an end later this month. Because of these and other challenges, the Board of Trustees determined that a new HCISD Board Committee, the Finance and Planning Committee, was necessary to address these issues now and going forward. And we approved its formation at our last board meeting. I want to thank Mr. Powers and the rest of this board for the wisdom of this decision to assist district leaders to ensure budgetary prudence and long-term financial strength. This board committee will allow us to start our budget planning now, well ahead of the next legislative session, where vouchers and other considerations might impact our district funding. It is better to be proactive and start the budget process now rather than wait until next spring to start making budget considerations. The huge impact that our Transforming Teaching and Learning Committee has made is unquestionable, which has led to many innovative educational opportunities, with a few examples being Harlingen School of Health Professions, UTRGV Harlingen Collegiate High School, Lee Means Fine Arts Academy, Gutierrez Middle School of the Arts and Sciences, and the Conservatory, just to name a few. So just like that committee, this board is committed to ensuring that this new Finance and Planning Committee will be a catalyst to positively impact the future of HCISD, and I can't wait to see what benefits it will offer us, the opportunities it might bring, and the new heights we will reach together. We look forward to the work ahead. At this time, I'd certainly welcome any comments from my board colleagues.
Mr. Pettis,
Yes, sir.
first of all, I want to say that I'm very proud of the fact that this board has created this committee to address those issues that you mentioned, because they're critical to the future of our district and public education. You know, this is what boards do. We set up new structure to deal with unique times. And as board president, I'm excited. I want to thank you for agreeing to chair this committee, our new Committee of Finance and Planning. We look forward to the work that this committee is going to do and the benefits that our district is going to achieve by the work of this committee, like the Transformation Committee. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Yes, Dr. Muniz?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, I think that this is really a proud moment here, being proactive with so many, as you mentioned just now, so many things going on throughout the United States, throughout the state, federal funding. In the past, I think we took it for granted that we could meet late May, June. Things are changing, and it'd be bad for us. It'd be bad, we'd be in a bad position to be positioning ourselves to wait and be reactive. So I think this is fantastic that we're being very proactive. We're going to be looking at details. We're going to be asking questions so that we can really just come down to the goal, a balanced budget. So I commend you for doing this, and Mr. President, coming up with this fantastic idea, and the board, of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Well,
I
if
would
not,
like to
thank-
make a comment if I could, sir.
Yeah, sure, and I think we're going to get to you in a second, if you don't mind, because
Yes, sir.
you're next, and I want to make sure that we, at this time, see if there's any public comments for agenda topics, and then Dr. Gonzalez, you definitely are next, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Do we have any comments for, public comments for agenda topics at this time?
No, sir. No
We do not.
public
Okay,
comments.
wonderful. Actually, now we'll just jump in right into our agenda this meeting, and as far as the financial landscape of HCISD and the formation of the committee, the floor is yours, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Dr. Pettis, thank you so much, and President Powers, to the entire board, thank you for all that you do for our school district. As Dr. Pettis mentioned, in my 30 years in education, these are the most trying times. As I talk to my colleagues across the state, all of us are dealing with the challenges and the landscape that we're dealing with regard to public funding, with regard to schools. And the time that our board spends away from their families, away from their businesses, says a lot about these individuals. And I wouldn't want to be with any other group than the group of board members that are sitting up here with us today, because they bring a lot of expertise to the table, and they're going to help us navigate these very difficult times. Whether it's the declining birth rates that we're dealing with, the declining enrollment that we're dealing with, the competition that we now have as a public school district with regard to charters and all those others. When you look at public ed and accountability and what we're asking our students to do, what we're asking our teachers to do, when you look at the weight of what we have before us, I can say with 100% confidence that this is the school board that can help us maneuver this, and this is the type of committee that's going to help us do that. So when it comes to finance and planning committees, it's going to do the very same thing that the Transforming Teaching and Learning Committee did for us. It's going to give us perspective, and it's going to put us in a position to start planning our budget that much earlier. As we move through the school year, there's a lot of heavy lifting that has to be done, but budgeting is amongst the most challenging. So there's constraints with regard to state funding. There's constraints with regard to all the things that the state is demanding on public educators, and we're not sitting here making excuses. Harlingen CISD is up for the challenge. But these are the types of committees that are going to put us in a position to excel, and I have 100% confidence that we're going to do the good work through this committee to make sure that we put in our kids in a position to excel, because we know that this community is counting on us. And if you think about Harlingen CISD, it's been in existence for 114 years. Many superintendents have sat in this seat. Many board members have sat up here. So we stand on the shoulders of giants as we move forward. And we're going to respect the legacy of Harlingen CISD. We're going to continue pushing hard and working together. But I can tell you, as superintendent of schools, as I look at the senior team, that we're very grateful for this board. We're very grateful for the time that you give us. We're very grateful for not only the time, but the expertise that you all bring to the table. I mean, we have some of the most successful people, not only in our community, but in the state, sitting up here with us in the medical profession and the legal profession, in pharmacy, at the university level, in banking. There's just so many different walks of life up here. and we're blessed for that. So I'm excited about this committee. I look forward to the future of our school district, and I can assure this community that we're going to work together to do what's in the best interest of every child, and this committee is a big part of that. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez.
Thank you. Does staff have any, so I think basically this is meant to be a pretty short meeting. My fellow colleagues, essentially today was the introduction of this new Finance and Planning Committee to the community. Now the real work begins going forward. We'll be meeting monthly and more if needed. I will highlight, and we still have some time before our next meeting at 4 o'clock, but I will highlight that now will be an opportunity, if you'd like to see certain things on the agenda going forward, now might be a good time to bring those things up. Obviously, we'll be taking deeper dives in and helping staff wherever we can, without getting into the weeds, but obviously doing our prudent oversight that we need to do as a board to be good stewards of a fiduciary, for our taxpayers. So, having said that, I'll start off, and I'd love to hear from other board members. Obviously, it's on a lot of our minds, the ADA and what's going on with the ADA. We all know our funding is derived by our attendance and our number of students we have in enrollment. So obviously, staff and, Dr. Gonzalez, you all have been pretty good about giving us updates, but obviously, we need to continue to make that a part of our continuing discussion going forward as to our efforts to enhance our enrollment and to enhance our attendance, because that obviously has a huge, enormous impact on the budget, is because that's where the revenues come, obviously. Obviously, we want to be mindful of what's happening at the state level. It's very, very, very early, as you know. But it's better to be proactive and engage with statewide leaders and folks in Austin to figure out what's going to happen at that level that's going to impact our funding and our budget. So I'll start with that, and then I'll also mention the tax rate. We've had, as I mentioned, very complicated situations of compression at the state level as far as our tax rate, while simultaneously having these enormous increase in valuations. And we historically have definitely passed those tax rates down, and I think we'd love to show the community how we've decreased that tax rate over time. Not a lot of public entities did it as dramatically as we have. Some have, but others have also not passed along those compressions to their taxpayers, and so we've always done that. So those are a couple things I'd like to see. Of course, always on the expense side, we have to be mindful of being good stewards and making sure that every dollar we're spending that we have, and especially when it comes to recurring expenditures, be very careful. And when it comes to one-off expenses, make sure we have that money, things like that. So and we'll definitely have time to talk about these things, but I'm really, really happy that we're starting this budget process now instead of next April. And but those are some of the things that are on my mind, and I'd love to certainly hear from the rest of my colleagues as well.
If I could respond, I know that I'm very proud of the team as we develop the Division for Student Outreach. So enrollment is definitely a challenge for us, and we have systems and processes and have taken a proactive approach to reach out to those students that should be attending Harlingen CISD. We're doing neighborhood walks. We're having talks throughout our community. We're making sure to set up camp, whether it be at the Boys and Girls Club, to talk to parents that should be coming to our school district. We're setting up at Target. We're setting up anywhere we can to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to encourage those children that live in our community that should be attending our school district and for whatever reason aren't. So I'm glad that we're taking a proactive approach, and that's as a result of the expectations of this board. If you look at our enrollment, and we know that we get $6,160 per student. So when you look at a declining enrollment, and then you compound that after the pandemic, before pandemic, we were about 96% more or less with regard to our average weighted daily attendance, and now we're hovering around 92, 93%. So one thing we have to do as a community, because this is going to take a collective effort, and I'm talking to myself first as a father, in my household and in every household across this community, is we have to make attendance important, because an elementary student can't get themselves to school. A middle school student can't get themselves to school. And high school students have to be encouraged to get there. So weighted average daily attendance is of the utmost importance. Wanted to emphasize that. but just very, very grateful for the Division for Student Outreach and all of the energy that's being put in to do our due diligence to increase our enrollment by design and not by chance.
Any other board members have any thoughts on future topics for the Finance and Planning Committee, or have any questions of Dr. Gonzalez or staff now?
Yes, Chairman,
Yes,
just
Mr.
real quick, I think that you put it together very succinctly, perfectly. The time is now for Finance Committee. You touched on what we've done over the years with the tax rate from $1.31 to 93.5 today, almost a 25% reduction. I think that this district is spending the money as efficiently and in as smart a way as possible, but things are changing. And I think that through this committee, I would like to see, the question was asked, what board members would like to see through this committee? I'd like to see a little bit more attention paid to the month-to-month. We'd like to review those financial statements on a more regular basis and a more transparent basis. Get the thoughts of our financial professionals, out here in the open, in front of the board and the committee. And I think this committee is a great opportunity to do that, so that we can make the best decisions that we can moving forward for everybody.
Yes, sir.
So, thank you.
Great ideas. And then since you mentioned experts, got me thinking about our financial advisors. We have financial advisors that help the district. And so at some point, I don't know if next meeting when, but I think at some point it'd be nice to hear from our financial advisors, because they have a good lens of what's going on region-wide and statewide, and can sort of give us some good advice as to how strong how strong we are financially, and how to be thinking about things like debt and all kinds of things that, and things like that typically only come up from time to time. But I think we need to be better about thinking about this, and using our experts while we have them. So I think that's good. That's a good idea as well.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Dr.
Just
Reiniger.
to add as well, thank you for establishing or leading, and Mr. President, for establishing the committee. I'm looking forward to the discussions. I think that for me, there's obviously expenditures and there's revenue, so thinking about revenue opportunities beyond the obvious would be appropriate, and looking at what other school districts are doing in the state to be creative, because they too are in similar situations. And so what are some models that we can look at where revenue could be generated as well? I'd be interested in that.
Great idea. Awesome. Anybody else? Dr. Khan?
Yeah, I think everything that I would want to say, I think it would be echoing, right, what my fellow board members have stated. I think some of the other pieces that I know we've discussed and I think would be worthwhile to highlight is there are certain things, right, that the state and the legislature, that's going on, and that will continue to happen in this next session. And so I think making individuals aware of how we can be more proactive, right? What our voices can be like as far as impacting, what is coming down from the state, that impacts our district, I think would be something that, to add to our conversations. But I think as well, looking at what other projects, I think we talk about projects right at the end, right, when we're looking at budget and what's that budget going to be like for the next year, and but we're also discussing numerous other things at that time. So I think really paying attention to, month to month, what kinds of things do we need to consider the next time, budget comes around, so that it doesn't catch us off guard. I know things are going to happen that we can't predict, but as much as we possibly can be in front of things, I think would be, I think would be very beneficial, in us meeting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right.
Mr. Chairman, just
Yes,
to
Dr.
add a
Neese.
couple things, echoing everything you said, everything that has been said, but I really, along the lines of ADA, I'd really like to see, lagging and leading indicators, because we keep talking about adding people and students, but I'd like to see a rolling net So we know exactly how many we're truly getting week to week, month to month. That'd be really nice. And I'd also like to see the expense that's going in to generate each student that we're gaining. That way we can have a number there. I think that'd be something that'd be beneficial. In addition to that, I mean, of course, I know Oscar's about to start his conversation. No? Okay.
I think we're,
Okay, we're not doing Oscar. Okay, cool. I'd like to know what projects we have that are coming up.
sure.
To see what we can maybe put on hold. What projects we're in that we may need to consider stopping.
Sure.
And just look at our top, I think it's Pareto's rule, 80% of our expenses are coming from 20% of what we're doing, and vice versa. And apply that to our expenses and our income, and really hyper-focus on those top 3 or 4 items to make sure that we're spending the money correctly. Just that thought process around that.
Excellent points. Awesome. Well, great discussion. Like I said, this is the first meeting of the Finance and Planning Committee. The real work begins now. The board will lean in and really help district leadership really be more thoughtful about achieving a balanced budget and among other things, just about being as effective as we can to make an impact for our students. I can assure you, this board wants to spend all of its money on things that are going to benefit our students. If we have to make cuts, we're going to start at the furthest possible place away from our students as possible, in the classrooms as possible. That I can assure you. We want to make sure that we're providing opportunities for our students, educational and otherwise. That we're really big on the holistic education of our students, but we're going to be really mindful of being good stewards of our resources, the taxpayers in this great community. So appreciate the support out there, Harlingen. I've always said that Harlingen's community is amazing, strong community. Strong communities, support their public schools, and Harlingen has been really supportive in that regard. So thank you all very much. With that, this meeting is adjourned, and I think we'll start the next meeting because it's immediately to follow, right? But this meeting is adjourned.
That's correct.
No, it says immediately following, so we're good.
All right, so at this time, we'll go ahead and call to order the special board meeting for today, and we have a quorum. We need to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll lead that. If everyone would please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, do we have any, the next item, do we have any public comments for agenda topics? All right. I'm sorry, sir, did you sign up? We have a requirement that you sign up by the start of the meeting, so.
Rule 551.056 says you have to put the meeting notice on your school website with the agenda, which you did not do. I can comply with requirements when you don't require, or you don't comply with requirements.
President, I think if he can sign up, I think we should offer him the opportunity to speak.
That's fine, that's fine. If you, I mean,
Could you just, Melissa, just please take his name down, et cetera? I think that'd be appropriate, and I don't think that we need to make this too complicated. He's here. Do you have the comments to read, Greg?
I need, all right, hold on just a second.
Do you have the comments, Mr. President?
I do, I'm sure it's here, yeah, let me just look at this is agenda topics. Right. Well. I'm gonna need the agenda topic, Deb. Do you have it? I have the one for the non-agenda topics. What, your name, sir, would you state it, please?
Nasser Aunala.
Mr.
Here to
Nava,
talk about
we
topic
need to-
4B.
I'm sorry?
Here to talk about agenda item 4B.
Okay, so give us a second. We're required to read you a introductory paragraph here before we start. So bear with us. All right. No, I need this thing here. what we talked about. No, I need the script. We're going to go ahead and just let him speak. That's the rules. Okay. All right. Okay, bear with me. Before we begin, I will remind the audience members of the board procedures for handling public comments regarding agenda topics. In accordance with the district policy, BED local, I will read the following guidance on public comments. Anyone who wants to speak during the public comments regarding the agenda must sign up prior to the start of the meeting and list the specific agenda items the public comment will address and discuss. All speakers will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to address the board. Any public speaker who requires and is speaking through a translator will receive up to 6 minutes to address the board. Speakers are limited to the items listed on the sign-up sheet. Complaints about employee concerns, student or parent complaints will be referred to our resolution channels within the district policy. If a speaker is seeking board resolution of a specific complaint, that concern could be addressed through the district's grievance process, which can be found online and include policies D, GBA, FNG, and GF. Grievance forms can be obtained at any campus administration office or in the central administration office. Please keep your comments or criticism civil and courteous. Please also avoid using profanity and refrain from making personal attacks on others during your opportunity to speak. We ask that you not discuss students who are not your own child. Yelling, inappropriate, uncivil, discriminatory comments will not be permitted. In the event your comment, in the judgment of the presiding officer, constitutes a complaint or charge against an employee, it may be necessary for me to interrupt you and ask you to stop and direct you to proceed with the school district's formal grievance procedures. As per board policy BED local, the Board of Trustees' board response to any public comment may only be provided specific factual information or recitation of existing policy in response. Thank you. Our first speaker is, would you please again state your name?
My name is Nasser Onala. I'm talking about 4B on today's agenda item.
All right. On which item, I'm sorry?
4B.
All right. Okay. So Deb, you want to keep the time? Do you want a 30-second warning or?
No, just cut me off when I'm out of time.
Okay. All right, go ahead and proceed, sir.
Okay. There are two levels of P substitution credit activities described in 19 Tax 74.12 that are available only for high school students. Olympic level participation and competition, including a minimum of 15 hours, which is Part 1, and Part 2, private or commercially sponsored physical activities, including those certified by the superintendent, that must include 10 hours per week. According to the TEA, Category 1 and Category 2, which I just named, private or commercially sponsored physical activities are not allowed for substitution, exemption, or waivers for PE for students in grades 6 through 8 under 19 Tax 74.3. The reason I bring this up is because when my son was a sixth grader in the 2022-2023 school year, he was not enrolled in a physical education class. Last year, he was falsely enrolled in a physical education class that concurrently happened during his second period class at the Harlingen School for Health Professions. This data was falsified by Superintendent Gonzalez and Monica Kaufman and sent to TEA despite them knowing he wasn't in this class. When this was brought up to them, they said that he was enrolled in an alternative physical education credit program, which I just articulated to you is not allowed for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. They made this under oath and signed an affidavit knowingly and intentionally lying to me and the rest of the public. Okay? This year, they are falsifying in third period that he's attending a physical education and a lunch period, which ends at 12:58 p.m. when he has to be at Health Professions at 12:40 p.m. So without a time machine, he cannot go back 18 minutes in time, have lunch, and attend this physical education class. Mr. Garza has a bus for him that leaves his campus at 11:30 at Harlingen south to go to health profession so he can make his English class on time, but we falsify as a district that he's attending until 12:58 p.m. So this will be the third year he has not been enrolled in a physical education class. The second year under Mr. Gonzalez that it's been falsified knowingly and intentionally. I know you can't take any actions because it hasn't been notified on the board, but I ask you, when you go back, to please tell Mr. Gonzalez to stop falsifying information to the Texas Education Agency. Additionally, as I mentioned to you earlier, this board has a problem with not following the rules. 551.056B of the Government Code does not allow for public meetings such as this board to occur unless it's posted to the school district's website, not another website, the school district's website. This law took effect September 1st of 2023, the first day Superintendent Gonzalez was made board member. So everything
Mr.
you've
Nalla,
done is
Mr. Nalla,
voidable, including this
Mr.
meeting.
Nalla, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to stop you because what you're alleging is basically grievance material, and we request that you look at our board policy and proceed with that. I would appreciate that. I'm sorry to cut you off. And also, to be honest, it's not in the material I read at the beginning, but we cannot reply to you from here. You get to state your position, but the board listens to it, but we're not permitted to respond at this time. I mean, it's whether it was you or anybody else, I just want you to understand that. All right, but thank you very much for your time. All right, the next item on the agenda is matters related to district operations. We're going to consideration and approval of endorsement of TASB Board of Directors for Region 1. It's my understanding that we have, I'm sorry?
Is there a recommendation?
Yes, there's a recommendation, and I don't have it. Let me see, hold on, it should be here.
Mr. President, I believe Mrs. Trevino has the ballot.
Okay, we have a ballot?
Yeah, please. All right, we do have a ballot, and I think,
Her name
I know that, I think Mr. Hymas was recommending, unfortunately, he's tied up at a TSTC meeting, but there's a lady, Mrs. Bussey from Lyford, that is very interested in this position, and the board would the president would entertain a motion.
Sounds good. So move.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Reiniger, moved by Dr. Pettis. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. So the next item is to move into adjourn to closed executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code sections 551071, 551072, 551082 of the Open Meetings Act for the following purposes. Discuss employment of teachers and other professional staff, and pursuant to Government Code 551071, consultation with legal counsel concerning cause number 2024 DCL 04235. At this time, we are into executive session. All right, we are back in regular session, and the items that we have to decide on is consideration and approval of employment of teachers and other professional staff. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the employment of teachers and other professional staff as discussed in executive session.
I have a motion by Dr. Cano Monreal and a second by Mr. Hymas. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. The next one is, there's no action on this one. So, go to the next one. It's just, I'm sorry? There's just no action on it. It was a discussion in executive session, so, all right. One thing, a point of clarification, pardon my mistake at the end of the last one where we approved the delegate to the TASB. Her correct name is Allie Bussey Savage.
Correct.
So I apologize for that. So, all right. I think there's no further business. We stand adjourned.